Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss important sources of secondary data. Students, secondary data are those data which have already been collected and analyzed by some earlier agency for its own use, and later the same data are used by a different agency. Secondary data is usually defined in opposite to primary data, as we have already discussed in our previous lectures, that the primary data is directly obtained from first-hand sources, whereas secondary data refers to data collected by someone other than the user, and such type of data have already been collected for some other purpose. Secondary data are cheaper and more quickly obtainable than the primary data. Students, the sources of secondary data, that is the source from which we can get the secondary data, can broadly be classified into two categories. Number first is published source of secondary data, and number second is unpublished source of secondary data. Let us first discuss the published sources of secondary data. Dear students, secondary data is usually gathered from the published, or we can say printed sources. Some major sources of published information are given here in this slide. Number first source of published information is international publication. Students, all foreign governments and international agencies publish regular reports of international significance. These reports are regularly published by various international agencies like United Nations Organization, World Health Organization, International Monetary Fund, World Trade Organization, etc. Such reports are of immense use to research scholars and to business persons taking interest in exports, imports, etc. Second important source of published information is official publication of central and state government. Students, government records are a very important and authentic source of secondary data. Some of the government records include census data, health data, education data, etc. If we take the example of India, in India, there are a number of government agencies generating data like Registrar General of India. It is an office which generates demographic data which includes details of gender, age, occupation, etc. Another important government agency which generates data in India is Central Statistical Organization. This organization publishes the National Account Statistics, which contains estimates of national income for several years, growth rate, and rate of major economic activities. Students, another important government agency in India which generates data is NSSO, that is National Sample Survey Organization. This organization provides social, economical, demographic, industrial, and agricultural statistics, and such type of statistics are based on sample survey. Other prominent government agencies generating data include Ministry of Commerce and Industries, Reserve Bank of India, Labor Bureau, Department of Economic Affairs, etc. Students, the third important source of published information is reports of committees and commissions. Central government or state government sometimes appoints committees and commissions on matters of great significance. Reports of such committees are of good significance as they provide valuable data. These reports are like Planning Commission reports, Finance Commission reports, etc. Students, another important source of published information is semi-official publications, or we can say semi-government publications. These are the semi-government institutions such as municipal councils, district boards, panchayats, etc. These institutions publish data about births, deaths, health, education, etc. And the last important source of published information is publications of autonomous and private institutions. Dear students, publications of autonomous and private institutions include trade and professional bodies such as the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, the Institute of Chartered Accountants, the Institute of Foreign Trade, etc. Annual reports of stock uh, companies and corporations, publications brought out by various autonomous research institutes and scholars such as Institute of Economic Growth, Delhi, Institute of Politics and Economics, Pune. Financial and economic journals such as Indian Economic Review, Reserve Bank of India Bulletin, Indian Finance, Economic and Political Weekly, Kurukshetra, Yojana. These are some of the journals from where we can get the secondary data. Students, now coming to another important source of secondary data, which is unpublished source of secondary data. Dear students, all statistical material is not always published. In some cases, inquiries are conducted, data are classified and analyzed, but due to some reasons, these findings are not published. These unpublished data can also be used by the investigator as secondary data. There are various sources of unpublished data, such as records maintained by various government and private offices, which are not being published, studies made by research institutions, research scholars, etc. Dear students, the sources of published data are varied, and such sources may be found with scholars, research workers, trade associations, chambers of commerce, labor bureaus, etc. Now, dear students, before using the secondary data, the investigator should consider some of the factors in mind. The secondary data should be used with great caution. It is usually very difficult to verify such data and to edit them to find out inconsistencies, probable errors, and omissions. Hence, the investigator, before using that type of data, should keep certain factors in mind, and the factors are firstly reliability of the data. That is, the data should be reliable. The reliability of the data can be tested by finding out who collected the data and from which source, were the data collected by the use of proper methods, at what time were the data collected, can it be regarded as normal time, are there any possibilities of deliberate bias on the part of compiler, what degree of accuracy was desired by the compiler, was it achieved. These pointers should be kept in mind in order to check the reliability of secondary data. After the researcher or the investigator get to know about the reliability of secondary data, the another important factor which he should keep in mind is suitability of the data. Even if the data are reliable, they should not be used if they are found to be unsuitable for the purpose of investigation. Data which are suitable for one inquiry may be entirely unsuitable for another. Students, the suitability of data can be judged in the light of the nature and scope of investigation. Now, the third important factor which an investigator should keep in his mind before using the secondary data is the adequacy of the data. Students, if it is found that the data are suitable for the purpose of investigation, they should be tested for adequacy. Adequacy of the data is to be judged in the light of the requirements of the survey and the geographic area covered by the available data. The original data may refer to an area which is wider or narrower than the area of the present inquiry, and if it is so, then they should not be used because there might be significant variations in different regions. Further, the data may not cover suitable periods. For example, for a monthly study of a phenomena, yearly figures are inadequate. So, dear students, this is all about the secondary data and the various sources of secondary data. Thank you.